Hey friends, what's going on? Welcome back. It's good to see you here at Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Tzadi Gimel of Masechta Shabbis. What can I tell you about Daf Tzadi Gimel of Masechta Shabbis? There's a bunch of details. There's a lot of details. A lot to hold in our little noggins. But it's a good daf. It's a good daf. We'll work through it together. So let's do a quick overview. The daf begins with talking about what happens when people split a melacha, right? Let's say Reuven and Shimon, they're carrying out something. They're each holding, they're holding it from either side. And like that, they take it out to Rosh Hashanah. Okay? Will they be chayiv? Will they not be chayiv? Under what conditions will or won't they be chayiv? That kind of stuff. And then we get into what's called Misayeh Yesh Bo Mamish or Misayeh Ein Bo Mamish, that when, if you have somebody helping out somebody else, but they're not really needed, so is that really, is that significant or not? Is there help? Is there any weight or relevance to the help that they're offering if they're not really needed? We're going to talk about that for a bit, which is interesting. Well, conceptually, it's interesting. Philosophically, it's interesting. How do you relate to somebody offering their help when their help isn't really needed? Cool. And then I think that's enough for the overview. Fine. So, friends, let us begin. Now, actually, before we begin, I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction. Now, as I said before, there are a bunch of details on this page. It's like the kind of page where I think maybe I'll put together some kind of a chart. It's the kind of thing that just seeing things in a chart could probably be helpful. So it's not complicated or confusing anything, but there are just different opinions that we're going to have to remember. So now these opinions really come from the following pasuk, which is by a korban chatas, okay, by a chatas offering, which we are all already familiar with. So the pasuk says, "Im nefesh achas techta b'shgaga." No, is that the pasuk? V'im nefesh achas, yeah, it is. Me'ama aretz ba'asosa achas mitzvos Hashem lo se'asena v'asheg. Right? If somebody will make a mistake and he will do something he shouldn't do, so he brings the korban chatas. So now in that pasuk it says ba'asosa, in doing it, and it means that ba'asosa, when you ba'asosa, right? Ba'asosa is kula, when you do it entirely. And what we learn out from there is that one person has to do the melacha entirely, and if he splits it, well, then he's not going to be chayiv a korban chatas. Now, here's the thing. Rabbi Meir doesn't learn that pasuk like that. So basically, this whole thing about being pater if two people do a melacha together, Rabbi Meir doesn't hold of it. So he's going to say that you're still going to be chayiv. Now, Reb Shimon and Reb Yehuda, they do hold of this limud to exclude when two people share in doing a melacha. However, they don't necessarily agree in which contexts it would be in, right? So so there's going to be three different ways that people can split in doing a melacha. One is where both would be able to do it on their own, and yet they buddy together to do the melacha together nonetheless. The other option, of course, would be if neither one would be able to do this melacha alone, and that is why they are joining together in order to do it. And the third option will be if one of them is able to do it on their own, whereas the other one is not able to do it on their own, and they still buddy together to do it. And Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon disagree to what extent, in which of these cases would we say that they're pater from a korban chatas, in which case you would be chayiv from a korban chatas. So that is basically, I don't know, I think that might be enough of an introduction. Fine. So let's get started over here. So it says the Mishnah, Hamotzi kikar l'shus arabim. So somebody who brings out, okay, so I'm on Daf Tzadi Beis. I'm at Beis, about 15 lines from the bottom of the page at the Mishnah. So, Amotzi kikar l'shus harabim. So somebody who brings out a loaf of bread to Rishus harabim, chayiv. Okay, so obviously he's chayiv, right? Take something out from Rishus hayachid to Rishus harabim, you're chayiv, of course. Fine. Hotzi'u shnayim peturin. But if two people were to join together in doing this melacha, right? So then they will be peturin. Okay, fine. Then we say, Lo yachol echad lo tzio v'otziu shnayim chayavin. However, if this loaf of bread, for whatever reason, or really you could apply it to anything that you're taking out, if it is too heavy for one person to be able to carry it on their own, so for that reason, two people join together in order to take it out, well then, they will be chayav. Then they will be chayav. Reb Shimon Poter, and Reb Shimon says that even in that case, when you need both of them, because neither one can do it on their own, Reb Shimon would still say that they are Paturin. Now, the Tanakama of this Mishnah, as we're going to find out, was Rabbi Yehuda, right? And therefore we saw in this Mishnah that in a situation where they were both able to do it on their own, and yet they still came together to do it together, they are Paturin, both according to Rabbi Yehuda and according to Rabbi Shimon. Whereas, when neither one was able to do it on their own, and that is why they are coming together in order to take out this item, so that together they can have the strength to lift it. So in that case, Rabbi Yehuda says they will be chayiv to bring a korban chatas. Rabbi Shimon maintains that they will be pater. Okay? Let's look at the Gemara. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, V'amila, Amar Abaye, V'amila b'masnisa tanu. So it says Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav. Some say that Lamaisa it was Abaye. Some taka say it was a Mishnah, Brisa. Zeh yachol, v'zeh yachol. Okay, so in a situation where, let's call them Reuven and Shimon, why not? So in a situation where both Reuven and Shimon can each take out this item on their own, okay, so Meir mechayiv. So of course, if Meir is going to say chayiv because he doesn't learn out this concept of two people splitting a melacha being pater from a korban chatas. So therefore he says, no, even though they could each do it on their own, they're still going to be chayiv a korban chatas. Okay? Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon potim. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon say that in a situation where Reuven and Shimon are able to take it out on their own, and they nonetheless join together to take it out, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon both say that Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon both say that Reuven and Shimon are going to be pater since they could each take it out on their own. Okay, fine. Now what about in a situation where neither one is able to take out this item on their own? It's too heavy, or it's too big, or whatever it might be, but they can't take it out on their own, and they need to join together in order to take it out. So Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Meir mechayivim. So in this case, of course, Rabbi Meir is going to be mechayiv because he says that two people doing melacha together are both going to be chayiv a korban chatas. But Rabbi Yehuda in this case, even though it's two people joining together, Rabbi Yehuda says in this case they're going to be chayiv to bring a korban chatas since neither one was able to do it on their own, and they need to join together in order to do this melacha. And that makes it like normal, right? It makes it a normal situation. It's not weird, right? In a situation where both Reuven and Shimon would be able to take out this item on their own, well then, why are they joining together? It's not necessarily like a normal thing to do. They should really just take it out on their own. So for that reason, they're going to be pater if they do it together. But Rabbi Yehuda says that once already Reuven and Shimon would be unable to take out this item on their own, well then of course it makes sense that they're going to join together in order to take it out, and therefore they will be chayiv. And we're going to see later on that this all comes from, right, this idea of like, if it's normal, if it's not normal, if it makes sense, if it doesn't make sense, it's all going to be learned out from a pasuk, okay? So that's what Yehuda, how he learns it out from the pasuk, is that in a situation where it makes sense for them to be joining together, such as when they're each unable to do it on their own, well then they're going to be chayiv a korban chatas. Whereas a situation where it doesn't really make sense for them to do it on their own, or it's not regular that they would do it on their own, such as when each can do it on their own, I'm sorry, I don't know what I just said, but a situation where it's not regular for them to join together because they're each able to do it on their own, so Rabbi Yehuda says in that case they would be pater. Okay? Rabbi Shimon pater. Rabbi Shimon nonetheless says that even in a situation where both where neither would be able to do this on their own, and they need to join together in order to take out this item, Rabbi Shimon would still say that they are pater. Now, the final case, which is when Ruvain is strong enough to take out this item, Shimon is not strong enough to take out the item, so now everyone agrees, Reb Meir, Reb Yehuda, Reb Shimon, everyone agrees that in this case, they'll be chayav to bring a korban chatas. Fine. So the Gemara is going to explain which one of the two is exactly chayav a korban chatas, but we don't say that they're going to be pater, since we don't say that they're going to be pater in this case when one of them is able to take it on their own and the other is not. And we'll get to that later, and that has to do with sort of is helping considered significant or not. Okay. Tanya, we learn Tanya Nam Yachi, we also learn in a brisa like this. Hamotzi kikar l'reshus harabim. Okay, somebody who takes out a piece of bread, a loaf of bread to reshus harabim, chayav. Okay, so he's chayav, of course, it's hotzah. Now, hotziu shnaim. What happens when two people buddy together in order to take out this bread? So Rav Meir mechayiv. Okay, obviously Rav Meir says chayav because two people doing something together. Rav Meir, doesn't find any reason to say that they would be pater. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Okay, so now Rabbi Yehuda gives his explanation, which of course depends. Im lo yachol echad lo tzio votziu shnaim chayavim. Well, if neither of the two participants would be able to take out this bread on their own for whatever reason, maybe it was a humongous piece of bread, loaf of bread, whatever it is, they're unable to take it out on their own, well then they would be chayavim. V'imlav, but if they would each be able to take out this loaf of bread on their own, and for whatever reason they decide to buddy together, well then paturim. Reb Shimon poter. Reb Shimon in either case would say pater, whether they can each do it on their own, whether they need one another in order to take it out. Reb Shimon would say in both cases pater. Minani mile. So how do we know this? The Tana Rabbanan, as we learn in the Brisa, ba'asosa ha'osa es kula v'lo ha'osa es miktsasa. That it says by a korban chatas, ba'asosa, when you do it completely, not when you only participate and do part of it. Okay? Keitzad, what does that mean? Shnaim shehu ochzin b'malgeis v'logzin. If you have two people holding onto a pitchfork and they're pitchforking, they're moving wheat around and stuff. B'charkar v'shovtin, if they have a shuttle of a loom and they are setting the warp. B'kulmus, if they have a quill, v'kozvin, and they're writing together. B'kanet, if you have two people holding a reed and they take it out to reshus harabim, so yachol yu chayavin, is it possible that they will be chayavin? Tamiloma ba'asosa ha'osa es kula v'lo ha'osa miktsasa. Therefore, the pasuk says ba'asosa, you have to do a melacha entirely, not only if you do it partially. However, says the Brisa, be'igul shaldvela. What about when it comes to an igul shaldvela? This big round wheel of figs that was very heavy and it was difficult to carry it alone. So votziu l'reshus harabim, and then two people buddied together to bring it out to reshus harabim. Bikora votziu l'reshus harabim. Or what if it's a heavy beam and one person would be unable to carry it on their own, so you have two people carrying it out? So Rabbi Yehuda Omer, so it says Rabbi Yehuda, im lo yachol echad lo tzio votziu shnaim chayavin. So as we know, Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is, if one person alone would be unable to take out this fig wheel or this beam, so two people buddy on it, so then they will be chayavin. V'imlav p'turin. But if they would have been, if one person would be able to take out this item on their own, so then pairing together would make them pater from a korban chatas. Okay. Reb Shimon Omer, afal pi shelo yachol echad lo tzio votziu shnaim p'turim. Right? Whereas Reb Shimon says no, even if neither one of the participants would be able to carry it on their own, and therefore they join together to carry it, Reb Shimon would nonetheless say that they are p'turim from a korban chatas. And he explains, l'chach nemar, this is why the pasuk says, ba'asosa yachid shasa chayiv shnaim shasa'ua p'turin. That if one person does the melacha, then he's chayiv, but if two people do the melacha, then they're p'turim. So now, here we go. So far we've just been kind of explaining this machlokas. We don't really understand the machlokas, right? In my introduction to today's daf, I didn't really go into detail about who says what and why, because it was complicated, it was complex. We're getting to all of this now, okay? Who says what and why and in what cases, okay? So far we know that Rabbi Meir says that you're always going to be chayav a korban chatas in any case, even if you pair together with somebody else. Where it gets more subtle is between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. There seem to be certain cases where Rabbi Yehuda says that you would be chayav to bring a korban chatas even when you pair together. Rabbi Shimon says you wouldn't be. But then there are also other cases even where Rabbi Shimon says that when you pair together you'd be chayav, such as if Reuven is able to do it on his own and Shimon is not able to do it on his own. So let's understand where all of these differences are coming from and try to make an organized sense of this. So, B'haikra. So, they are arguing about the following pasuk. Vim nefesh achas techta b'shkaga mi'am haaretz ba'asosa. So the pasuk says, if one soul will sin by accident from the nation of the land in doing, etc., in doing something that they shouldn't be doing, so being korban chatas. So Reb Shimon savar tlasa mi'ute ksive. Okay. So Reb Shimon holds that there are 3 exclusions in those words that we just read in that pasuk. There are 3 exclusions, 3 mi'utin. What are they? Well, nefesh techeta, if a soul, as opposed to souls, so soul to the exclusion of souls, okay, sins. Achas techeta, so one soul to the exclusion of many, okay. Ba'asosa techeta, and in doing it being singular, so each one of those 3 are mi'uts. They are all coming to exclude something. What are the 3 situations that are excluded according to Reb Shimon? So one of them is to exclude when, as we know already from the very first Mishnah of Masechta Shabbis, if one person picks something up and the other person puts it down, well, they each only did 50% of the melacha of Hutza'ah, and therefore they're going to be pater. That's easy enough, makes sense. Nobody did a full melacha over there. Each one only did 50%, so they're going to be pater. Okay? That's one case where they're pater from korban chatas. Next. V'chadem ute, ze yachol v'ze yachol. Okay, the next situation, according to Reb Shimon, that is excluded from a korban chatas, is when both of them were able to do it on their own. Okay? If both Reuven and Shimon are able to carry this item on their own, well, when they buddy together, they're going to be pater. Okay? V'chad and then the third one is to exclude ze eno yachol v'ze eno yachol. That is even coming to exclude both when Reuven and Shimon would be unable to carry out this item on their own, and they buddy on it, still they're going to be pater. Okay? Fine. Very good. Reb Yehuda, and according to Reb Yehuda, so Reb Yehuda agrees with Reb Shimon that there are 3 exclusions in this pasuk, but he disagrees with what they are exactly excluding. Right? So, chad limute ze oker v'ze meniach. Okay? So one of them is excluding when, one person picks it up and the other one puts it down. Ki'ilu, when each one only does 50% of the melacha. So then, they're both going to be pater from korban chatas because nobody did a full melacha. Let's see, how should we do this? Alright, so let's just keep on going. And then the second exclusion is a situation where both Reuven and Shimon would be able to do the complete melacha on their own. They would be able to take out this item on their own. But for whatever reason, they decide that they want to do it together. So in that case also, they're going to be pater from a korban chatas. Okay. V'chad, and the third one is lim'ute yachid shasa baraz bezdin. So what that is coming to exclude, who's the third person that will be pater from being a korban chatas? If you have somebody who does something based on the ruling of bezdin, meaning the example that Rashi gives is that, let's say Bezdin ruled for whatever reason that chaylev, which of course we know you're not allowed to eat chaylev, these forbidden fats. So if Bezdin for whatever reason ruled that you're allowed to eat chaylev, so this person went and he ate chaylev, and then it turned out that they made a mistake. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, this fellow who ate the chaylev, when Bezdin said that you're allowed to eat chaylev, so he doesn't need to bring a korban chatas. Fine. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, there are three miuts in that pasuk. One is to exclude one's to exclude on Shabbos when two people split 50% of the melacha, such as one picks it up and the other one puts it down. Another one is to exclude somebody who does something because Bezdin said that you were allowed to do it, and then it turns out that you weren't allowed to do it. Doesn't need to bring a korban chatas. Now, there's only one miut left. Okay? So now, Rabbi Yehuda says, look, if I had to choose between two options, one is to say that when both when Reuven and Shimon are able to take out this item on their own, and nonetheless they decide that they're going to buddy up on it in order to take out this item. So that's case number one that can be excluded from korban chatas. Or the other potential context in which these people could be patur from a korban chatas would be where neither of them are able to lift up this thing on their own, and for that reason they buddy together in order to take it out. So Rabbi Yehuda says, look, I only have one miut left, right? I only have one miut left to work with. So if I have to choose which one does it make more sense, which is sort of a less common case, right? Which would it make more sense to say that you're patur from a korban chatas? Well, the one that is less common would certainly be where they're both able to do it on their own. No, to exclude from a korban chatas b'diuk, because when they're both able to do it on their own, right? So then, for whatever reason, they decide that they want to pair on it, well, then they're going to be patur from a korban chatas. However, when neither is able to do it on their own, and for that reason they're joining together, well, that kind of makes sense. And therefore, because it makes sense, it also makes sense to say that they would be chayiv a korban chatas, okay? So the reason why Reb Shimon says that two people who pair on a melacha would be excluded from a korban chatas, would not have to bring a korban chatas, both in a case where they would each be able to do it on their own, as well as in a case where neither would be able to do it on its own, is simply because, while there were three mi'utin in the pasuk, okay, by korban chatas, one of them was to say when each one does 50% of the melacha, i.e. neither did a full melacha, such as one did akira, one did anacha. Now there are two more exclusions left over. So according to Reb Shimon, one is to exclude from a korban chatas when both Reuven and Shimon were able to do it on their own, and the other one is to say that even if neither would have been able to do it on their own and they pair together, in both cases it can be patur from a korban chatas. Rabbi Yehuda, however, he looks at the pasuk and he says, look, I have the same three mi'utin, however, the first one I need to teach me when one does the akira, the other one does the anacha. I need another one to teach me that when Bezdin says that you're allowed to eat chaylev, and then somebody goes and eats chaylev, and then it turns out that it wasn't allowed, that he's patur from a korban chatas. Now I only have one miut left, and therefore, if I have to choose between a situation and say which one is less common, which is the one we should say that you don't have to bring a korban chatas in this case, and I have to choose between when both of them are able to do it, and nonetheless they pair together, right? Or in a situation when neither one is able to do it on their own, and for that reason they're pairing together, well, the one that, is less common, right, that makes, that's less normal would be when they're both able to do it anyways, and we'll say in that case, you don't have to bring a korban chatas. Okay. Reb Shimon, okay, so now the question is, according to Reb Shimon, what does he say about a situation where Bezdin said that you're allowed to eat chaylev, and then this fellow went and he ate chaylev? Rabbi Yehuda excluded him, says he doesn't have to bring a korban chatas because we have one of those mi'utin from the pasuk by korban chatas, so that he doesn't have to bring one. Whereas Reb Shimon says yachid shasa baraz Bezdin chayev. So Reb Shimon Taka says, actually, if Bezdin says that this fellow, that you're allowed to eat chaylev, and this fellow goes and eats chaylev, well, you should bring a korban chatas. Fine. Reb Meir, now how does Reb Meir relate to this pasuk by korban chatas? Miksiv nefesh techeta, achash techeta, basosa techeta. Reb Meir says it doesn't say nefesh techeta, achas techeta, basosa techeta. It doesn't say that. Rather, it says nefesh achas techeta, i.e., right, nefesh and achas go together. right, they are only one miut, i.e., in that pasuk there are really only two miuts, not three miuts. And he says, Trei miutei ksive, there are only two miuts, Chad limutei ze oker v'ze meniach, v'chad limutei yachid shasa boraz bezdin. So one of the miuts, Rabbi Meir says, is to exclude when one person does the akira and the other one does the hanacha, i.e. each one only did 50% of the melacha. So in that case, they would be patur from bringing a korban chatas. And there's only one miut left over, according to Rabbi Meir. And that miut is, if Bezdin says that you'd be allowed to eat chaylev or do anything else that you'd be chayv kares for, that you would bring a chatas b'shogeg. So if Bezdin says that you'd be allowed to do it, and you did it, so then you would be patur from bringing a korban chatas. However, there's no exclusion for two people pairing together on a melacha. Whether they were able to do it on their own, whether they were not able to do it on their own, makes no difference. According to Rabbi Meir, you're going to be chayv to bring korban chatas. Now, interestingly, the only one, of course, that is not excluded from the korban chatas, according to anybody, would be when one of them is able to do the melacha entirely himself, and the other one is not able to do the melacha entirely himself. So in that case, everyone agrees. Reb Meir, Reb Yehuda, Reb Shimon, everyone agrees that at least one of them will be chayav korban chatas, and we'll see who that is in a minute. And that is because it doesn't come from logic; it comes from a pasuk, right? And it depends how many things we have available to be excluded from the pasuk. According to Rabbi Meir, we don't have any of these mi'uts available to exclude people pairing on a mitzvah, on a melacha. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we only have one mi'ut available to exclude pairing on a melacha. According to Rabbi Shimon, you have two mi'uts available, but that's about as far as it goes. And we, however, have three ways that people could pair together on doing a melacha. So, I don't know if I said mitzvah, but I meant melacha. And right, one being when they're both able to do it on their own, the other one being when neither can do it on their own, and then the third one being when one can do it on their own, the other cannot. So only a maximum of two of those are going to be excluded. That's according to Rabbi Shimon. According to Rabbi Yehuda, only one of those will be excluded from a chatas. According to Rabbi Meir, none of them will be excluded from a chatas. Okay, Amar Mar. So we said earlier, Ze yachol v'ze enu yachol divrei kol chayev. Oh, okay. So I think at this point we should know enough information to be able to understand this, which is that if Ruvain would be able to entirely do the melacha, would be entirely able to take this thing out, but Shimon would not be able to take this thing out on its own, and then they do it together, so everyone says that you're going to be chayav a korban chatas. The question is, hey, minayu mechayev? Who is going to be chayav that korban chatas? So Rav Chizda zesher yachol. So Rav Chizda says, Ruvain is going to be chayav the korban chatas, i.e., the one who is able to do it on his own would be chayav the korban chatas. The izeh she'eno yachol, my ka'avid, because this fellow, Shimon, in our case, who is unable to take out the item on his own, so what's he doing? So Amalei Rav Hamnuna to come sayeh ba'adei. Rav Hamnuna says, what do you mean what he's doing? He's helping. Whatever little bit, he's helping. So Amalei, to which Rav Chizda responds, Misayeh ein bo mamish. Helping doesn't have any mamish, doesn't have any substance. Meaning, if Ruvain can take out this item completely on his own, he doesn't need Shimon. And therefore Shimon, sort of quote unquote helping, it's not really considered helping. Okay, if Ruvain can entirely do it on its own, which is very interesting. Okay, fine. Amr of Zvid, says of Zvid, Mishmei de Rave, so says of Zvid in the name of Rava, Afona Nami Tanina. We can also prove this from a Mishnah. I can bring a support for this concept of Rav Chizda of Misayeh Ein Bo Mamish. I could bring a support from a Mishnah, and of course, this comes from our favorite Masechta. Who could tell me? Zavin. Okay. Well, get your Zav, Tuma, and Tara, Tumas Midras hats on. You guys ready? I'm ready when you are. Ready. Okay, if you have Mr. Zav, and he is sitting on a bed, so, of course, everyone knows, right? Tumas Midras. Great. It's amazing how far we've come, huh? We've been learning together Daf Yomi for a while already, about 5 months or something. You know, remember back in Masechta Brachos, every time we'd get to Tumah, I'd be like, later, we'll get to Tumah another time, don't worry about it. Now already, on Daf Tzadi Gimel of Masechta Shabbos, I say Tumas Midras, and everybody already knows exactly what it is. Not just Tumah, not just Rishon, Sheni, Tumas Midras, Zav. Kol Kavod to everybody. Let's go weiter. So, Yoshev Agabe Amita. So, our Zav friend was sitting on a bed. Va'arba Talios Tachas Ragle Amita. And under each leg of the bed is some kind of a garment. So, Tmeos. So, each of these garments are Tmeos, right? Because, of course, the Zav is sitting on the bed. And therefore, certainly the bed is going to be Tameh Tumas Midras, okay? Now, of course, when it comes to Tumas Midras, it's not just the thing that the Zav is directly putting his weight on, but anything underneath that as well, down to the ground. So therefore, we're saying that if you have a Zav sitting on the bed, so the bed will become an Avatuma because it will be Tameh Tumas Midras. Now, you have under each leg of the bed, there is a garment. So each of those garments is also going to be Tameh Tumas Midras. Mipnei and Mistama, they're also going to be an Avatuma. Mipnei she'ena yichola la'amod al shalosh. And the reason being that a bed with 4 legs, one in each corner, would be unable to stand with just 3 legs. Right? If you remove one of the legs, it'll fall over. So therefore, each one of the legs is contributing something significant. Okay? And that is why because each leg is contributing a significant amount in propping up the bed and subsequently propping up the Zav, so therefore each leg is contributing, and the cloths under each leg will be Tameh Tumas Midras. Reb Shimon says that the 4 legs would be Tahor. Fine. The 4 cloths would be Tahor. But now, what if this wasn't a bed with 4 legs? It was a horse with 4 legs, an animal with 4 legs. Let's call it a horse with 4 legs, okay? Vidalid, actually let's not call it a horse. Let's not call it a horse. Let's call it an animal, okay? And this animal has 4 legs, okay? So, he was riding on an animal. Vidalid talios tachas ragle behema. Now, there are 4 garments under each, one under each leg of the animal, respectively. Tehoros. So in this case, these garments are pure. The reason being that this animal could stand on 3 legs if it needed to. It could stand on 3 legs. Now, for that reason, since they could stand on 3 legs, so therefore, each leg isn't really crucial, right? And the Gemara says, "Va'amai," but so what? Hakam sayeh bahadei adadeh. But so what? It's still contributing. Meaning, if an animal can still stand on 3 legs, so then we can treat each leg as if it's the extra, as if it's the one that's not needed, right? It doesn't need 4 legs. All it needs is 3, right? And therefore, the 4th one is going to be extra and not needed, and because it's not needed, it's irrelevant. And therefore we can treat each of the 4th leg, each of the 4 legs of the animal as if it's that 4th unneeded leg, and for that reason, the garment that is under the leg is going to be tahor, okay? And not makabel tumas midras. Now, but what do you mean? Sir, it might not be needing, but it's helping a little bit, isn't it? So the Gemara says, it must be that we say that, who cares that it's helping a little bit? Helping out a little bit doesn't really matter. What matters is if it's crucial or not, right? If the animal could stand with 3 legs, well, then the 4th one is extra, and that's that. Okay, now, Amar Vidumi Diskarta says Rav Vidumi Diskarta. And he wants to kind of argue and say, you know what? This is not a proof to say Misaya Ein Bo Mamish. And he actually wants to argue Misaya Yesh Bo Mamish. Thank you, Rav Yehuda. Thank you, Rav Yehuda Midaskarta. He says, L'olam Ein Melach Misaya Yesh Bo Mamish. Rav Yehuda Midaskarta says, you know what? Really, I'm going to argue that helping does matter. Helping does matter. And therefore, in the case of this animal, where it could stand on 3 legs, the fourth one, if it's contributing something, well then it matters. It would be considered contributing and it would be significant. V'shayni acha, but he wants to argue that the reason why by this animal, these garments that are under the legs would be teharos, is the akrala ligamre. Because how does an animal walk? When an animal's walking, you're going to have a situation where like one leg is just mamish not on the ground whatsoever. It's not even helping at all. It's like suspended in the air because it's taking a step. So it's not simply, so it's not tahor simply because, it's helping, but it's not helping in a significant way. It's not doing anything. It's up in the air. And that is why it's going to be tahor. And therefore we consider each leg, right, as if it's like up in the air and not contributing anything, and that's why it's tahor. But if it was sort of, let's say, if we would treat it as though it was standing on all 4 legs, and all 4 legs are contributing something, even though it might not be crucial in order to make the animal stand, it would still be tameh because misaya yesh bo mamish. But the Gemara says that's not going to work. V'chevan de zimnin akra ha v'zimnin akra ha. But Rav Yehuda midiskarta, if you want to argue that the reason why the fabrics under this animal would be putter is because, there are going to be times when each leg is suspended in the air and therefore it's not really needed at all, well then, lehavi kizava misahapech, it should just be like our Zav friend who's just rolling around on a bunch of benches. Imagine that. A zav is like a big liability, Imagine like in your house, you have these benches, okay, for like people to sit on, and you just have like 5 benches just lined up one next to the other. And our zav friend decides he's going to just go and ruin everything. So he just starts rolling around on all the benches, okay? So Milotnan, don't we have a Mishnah that says, Zav shay mutal al hey safsalin, or al hey pundaos. If you have a zav who is basically lying down on 5 benches, or 5, these are kind of like purses, but you'd be able, I guess they were long enough that he'd be able to lie down on them. The orkan tmeim. So if he's lying down lengthwise, i.e. he's mamish just like lying down on one bench, right, lengthwise, and then he just starts rolling around onto other benches, so they are all tmeim. L'rochban tehorin. However, if you would lie down l'rochban kilu across, let's say, what do we say? We said 5 benches, right? So if you would lie sort of across all 5 benches, so his weight isn't entirely on any one bench, well then they are tehorin because for that reason, because his weight isn't entirely on any one bench, and I guess that they're not all 5 of them needed. Maybe probably just like 2, maybe 3 of them are needed. So therefore, they are tehoros. Yashen, if he's sleeping, so safek misapech alein tmein. If he's sleeping, and therefore we're not sure, maybe he was moving around, and at some point he did have his entire weight on one particular bench, so then they're going to be tmein. No, so what do we see? So we see in that case, let's say we have our zav friend, and he is lying, lengthwise across the benches, right? Which means at any given point, his entire weight is on one bench, and he's rolling around darting, which means that, there are going to be times when one of the benches doesn't have any of his weight on it, but there are going to be other times when it does have his weight on it, and yet we're saying that all 5 benches are going to be tameim. So shouldn't that be the same case over here as well, Rabbi Yehuda midiskarta? If you want to argue that we have to treat the animal as though, look, there are going to be times when one leg is suspended and all the weight is on the other 3 legs, but this one leg that is suspended doesn't have any of the weight of the animal on it, and subsequently the weight of the zav who's on the animal on it. Well, you want to argue that for that reason it's not contributing that leg isn't contributing anything at all, and that is why it's going to be tahor, since we have to treat each of the 4 legs as if it's the one that's suspended in the air and not contributing at all. But we see, however, that when you have 5 benches, which is the equivalent of these 4 legs of the animal, when you have 5 benches and you have this zav man, and he's rolling around on the benches, so there are going to be times when each bench doesn't have any of the weight of our zav friend on it, and yet we're saying that all 5 of them are tamei. We don't say, we just assume that each one doesn't have the weight on it at this moment, right? No, we say all 5 are tamei. So the same thing would then apply to the legs of the animal. And we have to assume that, the legs of the animals are each one is one of the legs that the animal is putting all of its weight on. And therefore it would be tamei. And from the fact that we're saying that when it comes to the legs of the animal, and you have cloths under the legs, they're tahor, it must be for a different reason, which is that, you don't need all 4 legs, you really only need 3, and therefore we consider each leg to be like it's just one of the ones that are helping, but helping in a way that isn't crucial, because all it needs is 3, and that is why they are tahor. Right? So elalav mishum damina masaya ein bo mamish, it must be because we say helping out isn't really significant. Kol kavod, everyone. I'm so glad that you all got that. That's good. That was I think that we've sort of passed the hardest part of today. I think that Zav part was maybe a little bit complex. I don't know. Whatevs. But I think let's move on. Amar Rav Papi, Mishmei de Ravit, says Rav Papi in the name of Ravit. Af ananami tanina. We also learn in a Mishnah that Misaya ein bo mamish, as it says, Rabbi Yossi, Omer says, Rabbi Yossi, Hasus mitame al yadav, that a horse, okay, if you have these garments under the front legs of a horse, then they will become tamei, implying that if you have garments under the back legs of the horse, they would be tahor. Chamor al raglav, whereas the donkey will be the opposite, that if you have these garments under the back legs of the donkey, they will be tamei, but the front legs of the donkey would be tahor. V'amai, how come? How come sayeh ba'adei adadei? But aren't the back legs of the horse and the front legs of the donkey nonetheless contributing? Lav mishum daminu misayeh ein bo mamish. Rather, it must be that we hold that misayeh ein bo mamish, helping doesn't really matter. Amar of Ashi, says of Ashi, afananami tanina. We have another brisa also that can prove Misayeh ein bo mamish. Rabbi Eliezer, Omer says the holy Rabbi Eliezer, Raglo achas ala kliv, raglo achas ala ritzba. If you have a Kohen, and the Kohen is in the Beis HaMikdash, now when a Kohen is serving in the Beis HaMikdash, he needs to be standing firmly on the ground. He can't be standing on a kli, on a vessel. He can't be standing on a stone. No, rather he must be standing on the ground, the floor of the Beis HaMikdash. So now, what happens if he has one leg on a vessel, and then his other leg is on the floor? Raglo achas ala even, raglo achas ala ritzba, or he has one leg on a stone and the other leg on the floor. So Rowan, so we see, kol she'ilu yinatel akli v'tinatel even, yachol amar al raglo achas avodas ksher. Well, if we would be able to remove this vessel or remove this stone, and he would be able to stand and hold his entire weight on the other foot that was on the floor, on the ground, well then kshera, no problem, is avoda that he's done is fine, because we don't give any sort of significance to that other leg that was on the kli or on the stone. But if when you would remove the stone or the vessel, he would not be able to stand, well then, his avoda is psula. V'amaya kam say ba'adei adadei. But one second. In the situation where he was, let's say, had one foot on a stone and the other foot was on the ground, and we removed the stone and he's still able to support his entire weight on the foot that's on the ground, so we say that his avoda is kosher. But still, the foot that was on the stone was still contributing something. So lav mishum daminu misayeh ein bo mamish, rather must be because we say that helping is insignificant. Sure, part of his weight may have, was probably on that stone, but it didn't need to be. He didn't need that stone, and therefore it's not significant. Amar Ravina af ananami tanina. So Ravina says that I can also bring a different Mishnah to prove Misayeh ein bo mamish. Kibel b'yamin v'smol misayato avodas ukshera. So the avoda in the Beis HaMikdash has to be done with your right hand. The kohen has to do it with his right hand. So what if he did kabbalah sadam? Right? You slit the throat of an animal, and then you need to have all the blood go into some kind of a vessel. So let's say he was holding onto the vessel with his right hand, but his left hand was helping out. So we say his avoda is ksher. V'amai, how come? How come sayeh ba'adei adadei? But his left hand is helping out. is not because we say that helping out isn't really significant, Shema Mina, so we see that helping out is not really significant. Interesting. Omar Ma, we said it earlier. Ze yachol v'ze yachol. Okay, in a situation where both Reuven and Shimon were able to take out this item on their own, but nonetheless they paired up on it. So Reb Meir Mechayev. Reb Meir says that he's nonetheless going to be chayev. They're both going to be chayev to be a korban chatas. Ibayu, they want to know. Do you need a shear for both of them? So for example, if they were taking out food, so would they need to take out a total of 2 grogros, right? 2 dried figs worth, so that each one, has like 1 dried figs worth for if there are 2 of them, so then they can kilu, you split it between the 2, and each one took out, we treat it as if each one took out a grogeris, and that's a proper shear for both of them. Or do we say that, no, between the 2, all you need is 1 shear, i.e., even if they just buddied up on taking out 1 little dried fig, that would be enough for them to be chayev, just because a dried fig is a minimum shear, even though they were 2 people, it doesn't matter. You just need 1 shear for both of them. So Rav Chizda, Rav Amnuna, Chad Omer Shir Lazev, Shir Lazev, Chad Omer Shir Echad Lechulan. One of them, so we have Machlokes of Chizda and Rav Amnuna. One of them says that each one would need their own shiur, so there would have to be 2 grogris. And the other one says, no, you just need 1 grogeris between the 2 of them. Amar Rav Papa Mishmei de Rava, Afana Nami Tanina. So now Rav Papa says in the name of Rava that we learn in a Mishnah that all you need is 1 shear between the 2 of them. And we're basically just going to be bringing a bunch of Afana Nami Taninas for the rest of the Amud. So, Hayoshev Agabe Mita, Va'arba Talios Tachas Arbe Ragle Amita, Tmeos Mipnei She'en Yacholo Lamor Al Shalosh. Right, so again, so we had this Mishnah earlier. It says that if you have a Zav and he's sitting on a bed, Va'arba Talios Tachas Arbe Ragle Amita, and we say that there are 4 fabrics, there are 4 garments under, right, 1 under each of the 4 legs of the bed respectively. So tmeos, we said that they're tmeos, because a bed is unable to stand on 3 legs. You need all 4, therefore all 4 legs are significant, and therefore the garments under the legs are tmeos. Fine. Ve'amai, b'rakam libay shir ziva lazeh v'shir ziva lazeh. But one second, in order for something to be metamitumas midras, the zav needs to put most of his body weight onto that thing. Now, over here, if there are 4 legs, the zav isn't putting most of his body weight on all of them. It's being divided between the 4 of them, right? If you needed a separate shear for each one, well, then you would have to have 4 zavs. Where are you going to find 4 zavs? So this 1 zav, we're saying that even though there's 1 shear of this zav that is spread out among all 4 legs, that is enough. Lab mishum damira and shear echad lechulan is not because we say all you need is 1 shear, for all of it. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak afana nami tanina. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak brings a different Mishnah to prove that you just need 1 shear. So tzvi shenichnas labayis. So if you have a deer that goes into a house, v'nal echad b'fanav, and then somebody locked the door. So now you have the deer stuck in the house. Oh dear. So chayev. So that friend who locked the deer in the house is going to be chayev for tzeda, for trapping, for tzad. Noalo shnayim pturin. If 2 of them locked the house, right? So I guess that they both locked it together. Well, then they are pturim. Okay, and that's assuming, of course, that they're both able to lock it on their own, but nonetheless they did it together. And we're saying that they're pturim, and obviously this is not like Reb Meir, because Reb Meir would say that they're chayav. This is like either Reb Yehuda or Reb Shimon. Fine. Actually, this is probably Reb Yehuda, because it says lo yachol echad lena'alo. If 1 person would be unable to lock it for whatever reason, v'na'alu shnayim, so they both locked it together, chayavim. So then they are chayavim. Okay, so this is Reb Yehuda's opinion. Fine. But why, when they do it together, would they be chayavim? You would have to have like an amount of tzeda. I don't know, maybe the amount of tzeda would be like an animal, but over here there's only like 1 animal between the 2 of them, right? So lab mishum damiran shir echad lechulim is not because we say that, well, you just need 1 shear between the two of them? Okay. Ravina is going to bring another Mishnah. If you have partners, Reuven and Shimon go into the sheep stealing business. So they steal their first sheep, and then they slaughter it together. So we say chayavin. They're both chayav to pay. What would it be? It would be five times, right? 5 times the amount. So no. Sorry, the sheep would be 4 times the amount. 4 times the amount, I believe. So we say that they're chayavin. You would need a shiur of shechting for each one, no? I guess that would mean at least 2 animals, I guess. Shech, a full animal. So lab mishum damin and shir echad l'chulam is not because we say, no, you just need 1 shear for between the 2 of them. Alright. Amar Rav Ashi afananami tanina. So now Rav Ashi says, look, I can bring you another Mishnah. Shnaim sheyutzu kane shel gardi chayavin. If you have 2 people who brought out on Shabbos a reed of a weaver, chayavin v'amai, how come they're chayav? Shouldn't you need an amount of hotza'ah for each one? So is not because we say that no, just the single shear of hotza'ah would be enough between the 2 of them. But then Rav Acha ber Rava says to Rav Ashi, hey, maybe the reed was large enough that you could have cooked 2 chicken eggs with that reed. 1 for Reuven and 1 for Shimon. So then the Gemara says, yeah, but imkein lishma'inan kanet alma, maishna degarde. So Rav Ashi says, yeah, but if it was just a matter of like just taking out a regular piece of wood, well then it just would have said a regular, piece of wood, a regular reed. What was the significance about it being the reed for a loom? The point being that there's only enough for, there's only 1 shear of weaving between the 2 of them, and still they're chayav. V'dilma de'izbei k'dei larog mapa lazeh v'k'dei larog mapa lazeh. Yeah, but maybe the point is that they're, it's large enough that you'd be able to weave a shmata for each one of them, and therefore there is also enough for 2 separate shiurim. No, so from here, this is actually, of all the Mishnayos that we brought to prove our points today, this one would not be acceptable. Tani Tana Kamed Rav Nachman, so a certain teacher taught in front of Rav Nachman, Shnaim she'otziu kaneh shel gardi p'turin Reb Shimon mechayev. So if 2 people brought out together this reed of a weaver, so p'turin, so then they would be p'turin Reb Shimon mechayev. Reb Shimon says he would be chayev. Klape laya. So Rav Nachman says, what? That doesn't make sense. Reb Shimon always says he's potter. So Ela Ema Chayav and Reb Shimon Poter. No, it makes sense. No, rather the Tanakama says that they would be Chayavin for bringing them out together, and I guess that would be Rabbi Meir's opinion. And Reb Shimon says that they would be Peturin. Okay, that was Daf Tzadi Gimel. It was like a little bit complicated, I guess, but not terrible, right? I don't know. Anyway, so we started off with splitting a melacha, right? We started off with if 2 people split doing a melacha together. So if we say that if they were both able to do it on their own, right, and nonetheless they join together. So Rav Meir says that you're chayiv, because Rav Meir always says that you're chayiv for pairing together, okay, even when you pair together. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon say you're potter. Now, if both would be unable to do it on their own, so in that case, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda say that you're chayiv, and Rabbi Shimon says that you're potter. If one of them would be able to do it on their own, and the other would not be able to do it on their own, well then everyone agrees, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Shimon agree that you would be chayiv. And that is because they learn it out from the pasuk of Ve'im nefesh achas techta b'shkaga ba'asosa. So according to Rabbi Shimon and according to Rabbi Yehuda, there are 3 exclusions in that pasuk. So Rabbi Shimon says that one exclusion is to say that if one person does the akira and the other one does the anacha, i.e. no one person did a complete melacha, so then they're going to be p'turin. The other one is to say that when then the other two are really dedicated to when people split doing a melacha, right? So in a case where both would be able to do it on their own, as well as a case where neither would be able to do it on their own, Rabbi Shimon would say in both those cases you would be pater. Now Rabbi Yehuda says that from these three miutin, he uses one miut to say when one person does the akira and the other one does the anacha, they would be pater because nobody did a full melacha. He uses another one of the miuts to say that if Bezdin said that you're allowed to do something, but it turned out that you wouldn't be allowed to do it. So Rabbi Yehuda says in that case, a person who did that thing in the interim would be pater from a korban chatas, and he only has one miut left from the pasuk of korban chatas, and that's to exclude when both would be able to do it on their own and they do it together, then you're pater from a korban chatas. Fine. And then Rabbi Meir says that actually in that pasuk there are only two miutin. The first one being for when one does 50% of the melacha and the other one does 50% of the melacha. So then nobody did a full melacha, so they're pater. The other one is to say that when Bezdin says you're allowed to do something and somebody does it, and then it turns out that they were wrong, you'd be pater from bringing a korban chatas. But if two people pair together on a melacha, they will both be chayiv. Then we got into the sugya of Misayeh Ein Bo Mamish. We said that help, when you do something to help, but you're not really needed, so then it's not really considered significant. And we brought a whole bunch of proofs to prove that. And then we talked about, when people pair together and are chayiv for doing a melacha together, so does there have to be enough for each one to have done a complete shiur on their own, or could there just be enough for one shiur between the two of them? And we brought a whole bunch of proofs to show that it would be enough for just one shiur between the two of them. So, friends, that was the Daf Tzadi Gimel. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.